So in this video, I'll be telling you about India's old flags through history, and we're also going to be ranking them. And I did it because a lot of you guys told me to do one about India, so here it is. But as I was researching this story, I realized how deep and rich India's history is, and realized that the flags had a really important role in there as well. So how are we going to do this? Well, as I explained before, we will rate the flag based on its design, history, and story. And the rankings will go from F to S tier, where obviously you know S means it's the best and F is the worst. So let's get started with the story of the first flag. India had a lot of flags in the past because it is one of the oldest civilizations ever. And India also had a lot of empires like ancient India before 300 BC, Maratha Empire, the Gupta Empire, and a lot more. But thing is, there aren't a lot of records of their flags, and we're talking about flags here. So for the first flag, we will start with the Delhi Sultanate flag, and that's what it looks like. Honestly, it looks like a solid flag. And it started back in the year 1206 when a general named Qutb-ud-din Aibak became the first Sultanate of Delhi. And with him started the new Delhi Sultanate, which ruled northern India. And it's even drawn in the famous Catalan Atlas, like in 375, which is one of the oldest world maps ever found in Europe. And this flag was the first time India had a flag that was recognized internationally. And during that time, also people's lives were changing because in that kingdom, cities grew, trade improved, and different cultures and religions interacted together. But remember I told you that was in northern India? Well, southern India were cooking something because they were creating their own kingdom in the south. But before we reach that part, let's see which tier are we going to be putting this flag, because honestly, it's a cool flag and it got a cool story with it. And also there's a lot of history with it, and because of all that, let's put it in the A tier. The only thing that it kind of misses is a little bit of a better design, but still, it's a cool flag, and let's see what the next flag is. So the Delhi Sultanate was at the north, right? Well, two brothers in the south, Harihara and Bukka Raya, were busy founding their new kingdom in the south. And they made the Vijayanagara Empire with this flag, with the sun on the right and the moon on the left, and then the boar and the sword in the middle. Like, okay, I think it looks pretty cool. And the word Vijayanagara literally means city of victory, so that's cool as well. And that empire was super rich. For example, travelers from Persia, Italy, and Portugal said that Vijayanagara was filled with gold, spices, jewels, and music, so it was a cool empire. So for its flag tier, I like the design, I like the story. So also let's put it in A tier, and let's see the next flag. So as you know, empires don't last forever, and Vijayanagara started to fall a little bit. But at the same time, another kingdom called Mysore started showing up in the south, and that's how its flag looks like. First, Mysore started as a big helper to Vijayanagara, but when Vijayanagara fell, Mysore became more independent and it took control of the area. So it was there for a little bit, it didn't stay for long. So for its flag, you know what? Let's put it in B tier, you know? It's a good flag. Nothing outstanding though, but it's a pretty solid flag. And let's see what the next flag looks like. So southern India is huge, and you know the kingdom of Mysore was in the south, but technically it was in the southwest because another kingdom showed up in the southeast, and it was called Kingdom of Golconda, and it was ruled by Qutb sultans. And apparently this kingdom was famous for diamonds, and this is what its flag looks like, which one might say looks very similar to the color of diamonds. Like, it had so many diamonds. For example, stones such as Kohinoor and the Regent were found in that area. So yeah, it was super famous for diamonds. And honestly, I love the flag. I know you might be surprised because it's only one solid color, but I do love the color. You don't see that color often in flags, and that's why we're going to be putting it in A tier. Honestly, so far, India's flags have been solid, so let's see what the next one looks like. So now let's go back again to northern India, because 300 years have passed, and over there was a new empire that emerged. Because in 1526, an Asian prince named Babur marched into northern India and defeated the Delhi Sultan. And after he defeated them, he built the Mughal Empire. And for most of its time, they used this flag, which has a lion and a sun. Honestly, not a bad design. And for many years, the Mughal Empire was the richest empire in the world, and it stayed like this for decades. But as you know, empires don't always stay on top, because the Mughal Empire eventually fell because the British came. But I'll be telling you this part later in the video. Anyways, let's rate this flag. So the flag looks super cool. The empire had a lot of history, which is a big plus. So because of all that, we're putting this flag in the A tier. Wow, there are a lot of A's today, huh? Well, anyways, Next flag. So as I told you, India was huge and there were several flags and several empires going on at the same time. And in 1674, the Maratha Empire came into existence when a young ruler named Shivaji started capturing forts and started having his own army. And he wasn't really a fan of the Mughal Empire because he started capturing forts and having fights with them, and then he set up the Maratha Empire. And that empire was very famous, but also look at their flag. It's orange. Just orange. Like, I don't know if back then they made the flag color based on the items they were famous for, but yeah, that was the flag. But anyways, the Maratha Empire didn't really last long because again, the British came. But for the flag rating, well, I'm gonna be honest, I'm gonna be very biased here. I'm just gonna tell you, orange is my favorite flag, and just because of that, I'm gonna be putting this flag in S tier. Yes, I'm biased and I don't care. I love this flag. Just orange. Next flag now. If you think that was all the kingdoms of India at the time, well, you were wrong because we have another kingdom like this one, the kingdom of Travancore. Because another leader named Martanda Varma made his own army and made his own kingdom. Like, bro, was it this easy to make your own kingdom back then? Anyway, that's what its flag looked like. And honestly, I still think it's pretty nice, you know? So we're gonna be putting it in B tier. But issue is, all those kingdoms and empires in India ended because of one little leech who came to the country with the excuse of trading, but then stole almost everything from India. And you know who the leech was, right? Because yeah, it was the British, because this is the next flag. Yup, it's the East India Company flag. And let me tell you, I don't think anyone in India likes this flag at all. And I agree with them. Like, they were supposed to be a company that went to India with the excuse of trading with them, but instead they set up their own forts with their own soldiers, and they started taking Indian land and giving bribes and making deals in order to control India. And unfortunately, they controlled it for more than 100 years. And during that time, they made unfair laws, took land from Indian rulers, and disrespected the local customs. And because of that, we're putting this flag in F tier, because this flag should not belong in there. It really shouldn't count as an Indian flag, but yeah, it's gonna go to F tier. So Indians did try to get their country back from East India Company, and in something called the Great Uprising in 1857, they tried to have a revolution, but unfortunately that failed because the British defeated the rebellion and thousands of Indians were killed because of that. But after that, Britain declared that East India Company failed and they dissolved it. Great news, right? That horrible company is gone? Well, not really, because now Queen Victoria took control of India, and in 1858, India was now under the British crown. And during that time, they used these two flags. But again, those flags should not belong here, so they're going to F tier. But now it's 1920, and the British at this time had ruled for way too long, and people in India wanted India to rule itself. They didn't want the British to rule them. They wanted a flag that would represent that, and that's where our next flag comes from. Because here's the next flag with orange representing Hindus, white for peace, and green for Muslims. And in the center was a blue spinning wheel, which was the heart of Gandhi's movement. Oh yeah, Gandhi had his movement back then. And he was telling people to spin their own cloth using that spinning wheel and to not depend on the British, and he told Indians to boycott British schools and clothes and to only use Indian made products. So during that time, that flag was carried in marches, protests, and meetings, and it was the sign against the British. But obviously the British didn't like that, and they actually arrested people who were waving this flag because it was against their rule. But that actually made the flag even more popular with the people. And then in 1931, the Congress finally adopted that flag. So because this flag had such importance in how India got its independence, we will put this flag in the S tier. But even with that, India was still under the British rule. But after World War II, Britain was weak and tired, and Indians had enough at this time. They were like, okay, we don't want the British anymore, and they started to rebel. We're like, okay, we're too tired for this. We cannot do that anymore. We cannot hold India any longer. And on August 15th, 1947, India finally became free after 200 years of British rule. And finally, there were no longer British flags raised in the country. But instead, it was the current flag in India, which is similar to Gandhi's flag, but instead of the spinning wheel, they had the Ashoka Chakra, which is a wheel that stands for law, progress, and motion. And I honestly think it's super cool, so because of that, this flag is going to S tier. And there you have it, the final rankings of the flag. Honestly, India, you did a good job with your flags. Like, they're pretty good rankings. This story was summarized there on the flags. Like, India's history is super long, but we summarized it here just to explain the flags of the country, because I think where the flag comes from really matters. Like, each flag does have its story. And if you like this one, I made other countries' flag rating here too, so check him out, and I'll see you guys in the next one.